Isha here, and welcome back to The Higher Life, where I take concepts that are considered esoteric, spiritual, and new age, and psychological these days, and show you how to apply these as practical tools that will empower your life. The focus of this education being personal empowerment, the correct use of our energy, the correct use of our power. So every episode that I do, this is the key theme or the thread that runs through them, even though I like to travel down different trajectories or different subjects or topics that just come into my awareness, something that might be happening with clients that I've been working with in my own personal life, with my family, or out there in the world, because we have so much access these days to what's happening out there through social media. And this is a really important part of the topic I want to discuss today. The very important, I think, discernment between music and mania. Music versus mania, and what is going on with this manic momentum that has really started to take on a real energy over the last, I think, 30, maybe 10 to 20 years, but absolutely since we've had the rise of social media, we can see more visibly this human tendency to fall into a kind of trance or mania around celebrities, around performers, around a sport is another one, where we find that we become almost so identified with the sporting person or the singer or the performer or the celebrity that we lose sight of the fact that they're a human being, and we overinvest or give away too much of our power to this person, to their story, to their magnetism or their charisma. And in a sense, we kind of lose touch with the real value of what this human being is bringing into the collective. And this is really kind of following on from the last episode I did, where I touched on two significant people, one being Taylor Swift, simply because, she's very present in social media, and she's definitely an example of somebody who has become a really sophisticated and very well marketed idol for many people across the world. And there is a kind of mania around her concerts, her merchandise, anything to do with her, to the point where it is worth, I think, exploring is whether this is really healthy for humanity and for our children. And the other one that's quite interesting is David Beckham. I watched a Netflix program on him a while back, but in the last episode I talked about Tony Robbins, just because he's somebody who is very successful as a public persona in the coaching world. There's a kind of mania around Tony Robbins, which he has been a real expert at cultivating since the beginning of his career, with his really kind of out there events that he does where people walk across fire. But what he's always understood is if you create a buzz, if you raise the vibration of people through the products that you put out there and the services that you do and the way that you show up and market yourself or present yourself into the public domain, people get hooked. They get hooked on the high that you offer them through the work that you're doing. Now, that high may be a healthy high to some degree, as in it's not cocaine or other drugs, but we have to, I think, go in really, really closely to this relationship that human beings are having with individuals that stand out in whatever field they're in, and how manic or the mania that gets created around them, and the kind of human behavior that then unfolds out of that relationship, that mania relationship. Now, I called this video Music and Mania, following on from the Taylor Swift, because I think it's a great example. However, we have seen people get very, almost have a love affair with musicians for a very long time. I mean, back the Beatles. I mean, there are so many examples of where a particular band or singer or performer has risen up and it's created a kind of manic craze out in the world, the Spice Girls, for example. And that in and of itself perhaps is not such an issue. I mean, what a great vibe to be in a huge concert hall or a huge festival or anywhere with a performer and the vibration of the collective is really raised, it's really heightened, and people just feel so excited and exuberant and, you know, hysterical to be in the space and listening to this music. So it's not so much the fact that we have this raised vibration, it's more about what happens around that. Because of marketing, because of social media, what we see is marketing translating into mania, in translating into an unhealthy relationship that humanity has with particular stars, in that we start using our precious energy, our time, our money to purchase merchandise, to go to extraordinary lengths, and perhaps to pay more than we really have in our pockets to attend concerts or to allow our children to attend concerts. There's this kind of unchallenged craziness that you would line up for 5 hours to buy a piece of merchandise from your favorite singer that is probably made in Bangladesh and has no real value on its own, simply so that you can wear that t-shirt and perhaps return to it to remind yourself of a concert that you went to. But the unchallenged assumption there is that you wouldn't remember that, and that going to that concert wouldn't have equal value in your life, or listening to that musician wouldn't have equal value if you didn't have the merchandise. We all love to have memorabilia, but we're reaching a time in human history where things, purchasing, merchandising, social media all has a negative, in some ways, impact on our collective, on our environment. Maybe, 30 years ago, when bands had this huge following and they would have some t-shirts printed and people would buy some t-shirts, the amount of merchandise that was actually manufactured, because manufacturing was nowhere as sophisticated as today, and the amount of sort of hype that you could create around a concert through posters and things, that had a kind of ceiling point. There was a certain amount of damage that gets done to the environment for people to be engaging with this kind of merchandise and engaging with their fans in this really personal and intimate way. But you couldn't really connect with them online. For example, you'd have to go and stalk them outside their house, or you'd have to physically follow them around from concert to concert. But now we have this ability through social media to be in the lives of these people that we think we have this really intimate bond with every single day of our lives, even though we've never met them, come near them, or maybe even gone to a concert. So we're having this really exaggerated experience of being able to be engaged with somebody who we believe inspires us, who makes us feel good, and almost tap into it daily. To the point where we'll go to great extremes to be connected to this person, which, if we equated it to any other substance, we would say is a form of addiction. Now, this is really, really key, and it might sound like I've gone off on all different tangents, but I think what I really want to come back into is this relationship between music and mania, and how can we, if we really discern the difference between what's going on and pull these two concepts apart, how can we really come to understand in a very sophisticated way the true nature of personal power? Well, if we look at music is a very inspirational force for the human being, because music operates through melody. It actually affects the vibration. So I know myself, if I spend a day listening to songs that pop up that I have no idea who the artists are, but I'll just listen to the tune or the music, and I'll just feel that I'll go to all these different spaces within myself, energetically, emotionally. Some might just make me feel like taking on the world, others make me feel like crying my eyes out. There's this whole journey that this music is taking my vibration on. It's a very spiritual experience, music, because it raises our spirits. It helps us process and feel things that maybe the ordinary mundane life don't allow us to access. And I think that certain bands and singers have really risen up because they have facilitated that for their fans. I mean, Nirvana being one, where there was a tribe of people all out there who really felt that they could access aspects of themselves that were really difficult to access in their everyday lives through the vibrational impact that these singers were having, and the melody of their music, the words of their music. So actually, you could listen to music all day and have no idea who's singing it, but get the absolute highest potential or highest benefit from that music. That is, it will impact you, and you will be in a way forever changed, because our cells change and transform when we are affected by different vibrations and melodies, and music is a vibration. So when we're listening to music, our vibration almost aligns with the vibration of the music, and we feel merging with that melody. And it's magical, and it's all about systemic power. That's how we're energy beings, so we're very responsive and receptive to any kind of influences in our lives that actually play with our energy vibration level. Therefore, music has been a huge part of the human experience. Plays, sport, you know, the hype and the excitement that comes from watching a very sophisticated, very skillful sports person play their sport. I think we all know what it is to feel inspired by a source of creativity. However, because of the way that modernity has evolved, and we have this really core way of being in the world that is driven by marketing, it's driven by looking at how can we take this experience, attach it to the person that has created this experience, and then merchandise and market so many other things beyond the pure creative expression of this person, or the pure beautiful execution of this sports player. You know, we're watching art in action when you watch, I think, someone like David Beckham, who was, you know, when you know his story, yes, it can actually enhance the way that you watch him play, but that's as far as it goes, right? It's this relationship which you're having with something that they've been able to manifest out into the world that actually inspires you or excites you or brings something into your life. But what happens now is that gets taken and it gets completely associated with the person who has created it or put it out there, and then very sophisticated marketing techniques are used to create a whole story around this person, the products, the way that they live their lives, and then all these other things start to get sold and to get marketed and to get pushed out through this persona. And it gets pushed out in a way where it invites in the fans, it invites in people who are deeply appreciative of the music, and engages them into activities that go beyond that immediate benefit. Purchasing things, trying to mimic the lifestyle, writing and criticizing the person as a human being, you know, writing books on the person's life. We just see all these ways that we start to overstep as human beings, and our personal power is sabotaged through that process. Because if we look at the planet right now, what we see is it's not sustainable. These huge super fans that are mass merchandising their products, their story, their songs, it's all physical products that they're putting out into the world. So if you're a performer and you have to think 5-10 years down the track, when there is so much rubbish on the planet, where people are over consuming to a point that it's making the planet so sick that we can no longer actually allow it. There may be even legislation that will eventually have to go into place where we have to limit the amount of physical items that we manufacture and produce. What's going to happen for these superstars that are making millions, if not trillions of dollars, merchandising this image of themselves? And it's really dangerous, because what it does is put out there a false version of these people that then creates a kind of worship relationship with them. And it makes the people who are worshipping them very vulnerable. You're vulnerable to believing things about another human being that actually aren't true, that there are superhumans and they're not actually human in the way that you're human, and therefore leave you feeling deficient or trying to attack them and make them feel deficient. So it's activating things in us that are harmful for our spirit, harmful for our relationships with self, with others, harmful for the way we treat the environment. And actually, if we were to remove this part of it, we would not lose the genuine benefit, the real true power of these performers, these creators, these sports people. We would still feel in our energy system and in our vibration the wonderful impact and inspirational value that these people are bringing into the world, that the system has supported them to bring into this world. But a marketing system, a merchandising system, a system that specifically goes around to construct a mania around these people is a human constructed system. This is not systemic intelligence. This is not a higher intelligence playing out. This is human beings capitalizing on a higher intelligence and looking how to make money, and lots of it. Now you may think, well, shouldn't these performers be able to make money off what they're doing, and merchandising is a way that they can extend their income? Don't they have a right? Don't we have a right to want to own something that feels that we can, it kind of holds an essence or a memory that we can travel back to? And I would say we need to seriously challenge this. We live in a current society where we don't challenge this. We do kind of have a unchallenged belief that people should be able to earn as much money as they want. But what we see is that humanity is one system. So if we think of it as one body, for example, it would be like saying that you only feed one part of your body. So one part of your body is a multi-millionaire. Let's just say your brain is a multi-millionaire. It's got trillions, maybe $9 billion. You're just making so much money, it's not funny. You don't even know what to do with it. You probably have to hire a whole group of people to manage it. But your stomach is living on less than $5 a day, which a lot of there's a huge part of the population, the universal population, or within humanity, there's a huge groups of people that are living on so little money. So the gap would be massive, right? Between, say, someone like Taylor Swift, who's, in the probably one of the most richest people on the planet right now, and many other people who are like her. She's not the only one. I'm just using this as an example because it's very present. The Taylor mania is, it's something that we do need to investigate, because it's families, it's people in very poor countries that are, looking for ways to stretch their dollar to be able to attend a concert that most of them would only earn that money in a month or 2 months. There's people like me whose daughters, they want to go to that concert, they want to be part of that experience, and it costs way beyond what most people can actually afford. Then you add the merchandising and you add all these other things, and there's a part of you that's going, this isn't right. I don't want my children growing up thinking that it's normal to pay $1,000 for a ticket when you have all the albums and you can listen to it online. But I understand that you really want to be part of this huge experience. But the experience is becoming more and more manufactured, more and more marketed. There's more activities and events and ways of keeping people hooked on wanting to spend more and invest more into these artists. But you have to think about, what's the return? The child is still having a huge positive experience listening to the music and being part of that concert, but it's very short and very small when you consider the amount that the child might be investing in to the person, to that one person. So we see all this energy, all this money, all this attention, all this love flowing into one single human being whose personal wealth and whose personal power, or at least status or ability to market and merchandise, is growing and growing and growing. So we can see that there's a real imbalance there. So if we come back to the human body, we know that if we only have a very abundant brain and we have a very deficient stomach, we're going to get sick. The body is going to be out of whack. It is not going to be sustainable, and eventually it'll create a great illness. So if we think of humanity as a system that embraces these extremes, where some people who are supported by the system to bring a certain inspirational value into the world, or to perform at a really high level in which they gain a lot of attention, are all the wealth is channeling into that. And then we see really poor people at the bottom. We know that imbalance is going to create some real uneasiness in the human system. But at the moment, because marketing is so effective, it is the way that our lifestyles are curated to us, and the way that we are, consciously and subconsciously, we are directed to invest our power, our focus, our attention, our energy into feeding that system through what we believe is a genuine love for what we're buying. But I would say to you that if we step back and we think about music, we think about the creative, anything that is the source of our inspiration. For me, it's my relationship with my children, for example, parenting. I get a genuine source, that's very inspiring for me. It inspires me to explore and examine my inner world, and it lifts me and takes me into spaces where I feel very inspired to do things differently or think about things differently. And I'm sure when people are, really enamored with a particular artist's music, that relationship, that cost benefit is there. But that can happen without the marketing, without the merchandising, without the mass media. So we have social media now, and social media in fact generates real environmental impact. People don't think about that, and most of our kids don't know that every single time you like something, every single time you watch something, you send a message, you sign up for another social media, you are actually creating real pollution, that we need to build huge data centers to actually be able to manage all of that. So all these big stars and all this social media activity, there's more and more physical spaces that are being used to create data centers that can allow that to happen. That creates pollution. So there is no way that we can get around the fact that if we are engaging with a marketing-driven lifestyle and we are becoming lost in trances in a form of mania where we are doing that compulsively, and we think that it's in our best interest because this person we look up to or their work inspires us, we've been caught in this kind of cycle in which we're really facilitating more and more pollution. So it's just unsustainable. This is not about good and bad, right and wrong, the morality. It's really about considering that personal power, our capacity to be empowered in our life, means that we need to understand where we're putting our energy, how we use our creative energy, and the system that that's feeding. Now, the biggest thing, and the thing to be, the biggest thing in this whole scenario or example, when I'm talking about music and mania, or the biggest learning, let's say, is that we need to understand the difference between feeling inspired and our quality of spirit, or our vibrational, the quality of our vibrational energetic system is being raised. The difference between that inspirational flow, and identification. Because what disempowers the human being is the process of identifying with anything outside of ourselves as being who we are, or something that we will go to great extents to keep alive in our lives. So for example, you can feel inspired by songs and music without knowing who sings those songs. But the minute that you start identifying with the person that's singing those songs as like you, and you want to almost become like that person, or have that person be part of your life in a very personal way, that is not real. It's not reality. You may think that you know about the lives of these stars, but all you know is about the manufactured life of these stars, the story that their people, the PR, the marketing people want you to know about them so that you feel favored towards them. So you will go to their concerts and buy their albums and buy their merchandise and follow every single detail of their life. But if you can imagine the amount of social media traffic that that's creating, it's not necessary. Artists make songs, and their songs inspire us, and we buy their albums and we invest in their music, and maybe that's enough. All the additional merchandising and product placement and sponsorship, it's creating a false economy. It creates a relationship with other human beings that is not real, and has us doubting our own value in the world. I'm all for feel inspired. I'm so inspired when I listen to certain songs. Most of the time, no idea who sings them, but I'll save them, and when I'm in a particular mood, I'll go and it'll help me raise into a different vibration. It's beautiful. Same with artwork, same with watching a sports player or opera. I'm just targeting one very significant singer because she's a superstar right now, and she has a supremely sophisticated marketing strategy. Everything that she does has a marketing value to it. It pays off. There's always an invitation to engage with her more, buy more, become more involved in the marketed lifestyle that is that surrounds her. And this is dangerous for any of us, and even for her, because it's an imbalance in the dynamic. It is an over-identification with another human being, so much so that you become lost from your own inner life, and you become completely enmeshed into another person's life. And you know, we've seen a lot of reality TV show stars that have managed to do this, the Kardashians. I don't know much about them, but you know, we know this story. I'm doing this video now because for a long time we've kind of let this slide, but social media is taking this to new levels, especially for our children. It is creating pollution that we're not even aware of. It is creating false versions of life that our children are buying into that really are not valid and will have them off track. So it is the time for us to really start digging deep into ourselves and to really pull apart the genuine value, the genuine empowerment aspects of our performers, of our stars in the world, any type of star, and understand what the real value is for us as human beings, and to actually start to disengage with some of those unhealthier practices and to start seeing that world out there for what it is, which is a marketed, merchandised reality. It is so important for us to really start taking more control over the way that our energy is manipulated in this world. Because for empowerment to really happen, we need to use our energy correctly. And in order for that to happen, we have to understand how our energy is being hijacked into enmeshed relationships. And any type of manic or mania relationship with any type of superstar is really borderline a form of addiction. You know, if you are going to great lengths in order to see a star, own their stuff, or spending enormous amounts of time online following stars, you know that there is something unhealthy about this. Love them, love their music, but remember to see you always need a little bit of a river. As I say to my daughter, we always need a river between our own power and anything outside of ourselves. That river where the enmeshment can drop away and we can just be free to enjoy the genuine benefit that any type of melody, any type of music, any type of creativity has in inspiring the quality of our spirit, personally and collectively. So I hope you found this interesting or insightful. I hope you can see how taking charge of our personal power is really the most effective way that we can bring our planet back into balance and start to live genuinely free, liberated and fulfilled lives. If you like what I'm doing here, check out Higher Life Academy, where I offer a whole range of other pathways for you to explore this work. Until then, take care and love life.